Hi, everybody. Welcome to Share and the Chair. This is Sunshine Cathedral's midweek discussion. I'm Darrell Watkins, the senior minister, and on Wednesdays, I get to talk with other religious leaders, and you get to watch. You get to be part of it. You get to listen to perspectives from people from all over. We've spoken with a rabbi and an imam, and a psychic, and angelologist, and queer theologians, and new thoughters. And today, it's almost all of those people in one human. Today we
I like that.
we have all of that in one person. Um, the Reverend Kathy Beasley. Do you know that there was a divine science writer in the early 20th century called Kathy Beasley? Did you know that?
Nuh-uh.
Oh yeah. I think she only
See,
wrote
I've
one
been
book.
here before.
Yes. I think she only wrote one book, but it was so good she didn't need to write anymore.
See?
So anyway, so we have the Reverend Kathy Beasley with us, who is the minister of Center for Spiritual Living in Orlando. But what's the name of it?
The Central Florida Center for Spiritual Living.
That's it. The center. And then what is the website so people can find out even more about you?
Oh, OrlandoCSL.org.
OrlandoCSL.org. Early on, when we first started doing this, early in the COVID situation, I think our second guest was Terry Steed, the Reverend Terry Steed, also in Orlando,
Florida.
Yeah. So a wonderful guest she was. So anyway, so we're back to Orlando, but a whole new conversation. So welcome, Reverend Kathy. Now, Kathy Beasley, we met in MCC, Metropolitan Community Churches. She was doing her thing, and I was doing my thing, and then you switch around and you go to other places, you do more things. And she was a Gap pastor in Gainesville.
Yep.
I remember it was a bit of a schlep, but yeah, you did that. And we'd be at conferences and cutting up and having a good time. And now, meanwhile, I went on and immersed myself in New Thought, joined the International New Thought Alliance and Divine Science Federation and so on, as a lot of people have those right. Well, meanwhile, I didn't realize she's doing the exact same thing. I finally did realize. I tried to snag her one time, but it didn't quite work out because she's supposed to be where she is, doing the great work she's doing where she is. But so she went to Protestant seminaries. She went to the Unity School for Urban Ministry in Detroit, a New Thought seminary. Now she's finishing up her religious science or CSL credentials, because along the way she has been an MCC pastor, she has been a Unity minister on staff at church, and now she is a CSL minister. And we were just talking before we came on about the various other things that she's probably going to do before it's all over with. Hey, you know what? If you wake up in the morning, you got stuff to do. So why not, right? So that's a little bit about Kathy. And so I want to ask you some questions now about that. Now that people know who you are, they're going to know why I'm asking these questions.
Oh, Lord.
So you've studied liberation theology, because you went to EDS. So I know you studied liberation and feminist theology and queer theology, but also New Thought theologies with Unity and now with CSL. What was your religious experience, if any, growing up? Did you grow up in any of these traditions, or did you find these along the way? What was your religious experience before all of this?
I'm going to borrow a definition that I heard Bishop Yvette Flunder share once upon a time. I grew up Methodist-Pentecostal. So,
all of it.
Yeah, so that transition through theology and religiosity, that's always been something that I've done. I think about my religious experience growing up, it was constant, because you go to church on Sunday, you eat 3 meals, and there was something going on in church every single day. So of my 3 other siblings, I was the only one who had to go to church. I don't know if my mom just needed some peace or what, but I had to go. And so I did. And what I would do, this was back in the days where there were church buses and church vans. I grew up in the South before things got weird. And my sister, her job was to tell my mom what bus I got on. So I would just stand at the edge of the driveway, and whatever looked kind of cool, I go to church and they bring me back home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right. The Baptist bus showed up first, so off I go.
They did. And that was neat. I mean, the music was good. The The theology was questionable. I was challenged because I couldn't ask questions. My mom was like, "Don't ask nobody that," because I wanted to know where Noah got the wood
Right.
and the blueprints. So she was like, "Don't ask
Exactly.
nobody that."
Wow.
I was
And
like,
did he
now
think
I'm like, did
through?
he go to Lowe's? I mean, what really happened?
And did he think through the two woodpeckers when he was loading up the on the wooden boat? Or we
Exactly.
find two
Yeah. And I'm
termites.
like,
Yeah, it's also silly, really.
see, that's what I'm talking about.
Two little termites.
Exactly. I'm like, did he have a map, a compass? Did he follow the stars? Or did he just kind of like, I mean, was it a constant thing of recalculating? I mean, what happened?
Well, that's what I always was perplexed and amused about with the Exodus story, is that when they leave, they take everything. Everything's not nailed down. They're just snatching everything, and nobody grabbed a map or a compass. I got the silver,
Exactly.
no compass.
It's like the disciples in the New Testament. Every time they got somewhere, they're like, "Who got the bread? I got the bread. You got the bread." Just like I'm the bread. Oh yeah, we forgot. We're gonna get something to eat though. We'll be back.
We'll be back. There's a lot of hungry people out here.
It
We'll catch you
is,
later.
right? Yeah. And I always wonder, like, were there pockets in those gowns? I mean, did they have a man purse? I mean, what
They had a
wheelbarrow? What?
little apostolic pocketbook. Absolutely. So you just grew up just churchy, this one and that one.
Oh yeah.
Well, and now that's sort of become your your ministry. This
Who knew?
one and that one. Well,
Yeah.
that's great. So, well, you've gone to Protestant seminaries. In fact, I think you went to uh, the Florida Center also.
I started there.
Yeah, and then the Episcopal Divinity School, and then the Urban Ministry School.
Yep.
And now some more courses from the Holmes Institute coming up. So
Yep.
you've been to Protestant and New Thought seminaries. You've been
Yep.
ordained in MCC and Unity, and now you're pastoring another church in another tradition and getting credentials for the Centers for Spiritual Living.
Yep.
So how and why have you blended the various spiritual paths that you've trod so far in your life? How are all of these coming together? Because they are. I'm sure it's all syncretic now, and it's all become a whole and a new thing. So how has that happened?
One of the things that I always found remarkable when I went to MCC was how at the end of service, the minister would stand at the door and greet people as they left and exchanged stories and whatnot. And one of the things I did when I first got to CSL is I wanted to be a greeter because nobody expects to open the door and there stands the minister. and so there's a whole lot of surprise. And what this journey has really given me is a chance to greet people where they are and to be fluent in a lot of different levels of relevance in our lives, as opposed to being high and lifted up and unapproachable and irrelevant and all of that. I just want to be wholly human. And so when I talk about things, I talk about the success and the failure, the light and the darkness. It's all in us. I just recorded a talk earlier today where I talked about being anxious and depressed because you're locked up in your house. I don't care how nice it is. At some point, you want to go outside and play, and that's not always safe these days.
A gilded cage is still a cage.
It's still a cage. I'm trying to tell you, and I now know why the cage bird sings. So it's just that kind of evolution that I wanted to be a participant in the lives of communities, to be able to sit with people and go, I understand, to walk with people and help them understand. I've been here before. Come on, the only thing we have to do, if we make 4 more steps and hang a right, we're free from this. And so it gives me language. It gives me a sense of peace and connection to other people just because I've come from many places. And who knows where all this is going to wind up. It takes a lot to keep this together. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen if somebody yells scatter. So
Yeah.
who knows?
Well, let me ask you a question that's going to delight half of our New Thought friends and really piss off the other half.
Okay, cool.
Because it's right. Because you mentioned depression, and maybe you just meant like kind of being down because of circumstances, or whatever. But I actually take medication. I mean, I really I mean, I do.
Oh, me too.
I love me some Lexapro.
See?
And right. And I jump at the chance to tell people when they're struggling with it, it's like, oh, I can't tell you how to fix it, but I can tell you it's not just you. It's not just you. Or when there's, oh, my doctor wants you to take medicines, what do you think? I'm like, if I were you, I would be gobbling those down like Tic Tacs. I do. I carry my Lexapro in a Pez dispenser. I mean, I just want easy access, right?
Exactly.
But I tell people two things. First of all, say a prayer and take a pill. If one doesn't work, the other will. And this is completely compatible with my understanding and practice of New Thought, not with everybody's, but with my understanding of New Thought, because if God is all there is, God is in the medicine. This pill is as much God as a star is, or a tree, or a beautiful song, or whatever it is that I've seen divinity in. Well, this sanity saving or life saving or pain reducing or whatever medication, that's part of God too. That is a manifestation of the one thing that is. And so I've seen people be very, very stubborn. No, I'm going to pray this way. I'm going to lift my consciousness. I'm going to know the truth. And meanwhile, they're making a big struggle, which is itself miserable. And I had a friend, and I think this is how I learned this lesson. I had a friend and mentor way back in the early 90s. And he was a religious science minister back in the days when I think it was United. It was a different, before you all came back together and became CSL. So I think it was the United branch. And he was HIV positive back when the treatments were very limited. But some good stuff was finally coming out. And he was like, I'm a minister. I'm a metaphysician. I got this. And he was getting sicker and sicker. And he finally said, I realized God is all there is. God has to be this medicine too. And he started taking his medicine and he got instantly well. Like it was almost like a miracle how well and strong he got, and then never had another problem. And that story always, his story that he told, always just stuck with me. It's like, yeah, why make this be a competition between this and God if God is all there is?
Exactly. It's the perfect presentation of both and. Because we grew up being taught either or. You got to pick one.
Yeah.
And it's the perfect opportunity for both and, because when we understand that God is all there is, even in those moments where I feel the most anxious, God is still all there is.
Yeah.
And as I, like you, pop out my Tic Tacs and go about my business, God is still all there is.
Yes. Yeah. And we have I'm really trying to learn this, and maybe you can help me with this today. I'm really trying to learn that. I mean, I try not to judge myself too harshly. I try not to judge others too harshly. I catch myself judging harshly anyway. And so then there's forgiveness work and blah, blah, blah. But one of the things that I have forgotten to even check on, forget that I am judging harshly, is that I will judge experiences that are just experiences. But I've judged them to be bad, or the result of a broken consciousness, or I'm not practicing the principles or whatever, or, maybe just sometimes shit happens. And my consciousness is learning how to wash that off of me instead of throwing a big old fit and making a bigger mess of it. Sometimes you just step in it, and the miracle is taking your shoe off and washing it off. I mean, you know what I mean?
Right. Or if your name is Kathy Beasley, you just change shoes.
But no, I'm 53 years old, and this is like a new, just dawning on me. It's because really for most of my journey, I'd be like, how did I manifest this big old pile that I stepped in? How come I didn't notice it? Why wasn't I wise enough to walk around it? And I'm just making myself miserable instead of just wiping the shit off.
Right. Exactly.
So this is my new little growth thing right now. Like, I'm trying not to even, I want to heal the whatever, but I mean, I can do that as easily if I'm so busy judging it or beating myself up about how it even happened. The rain falls on the just and the unjust. It's all God.
Yeah, I bumped into someone, I don't even know what the question was, but their response was, it is what it is. Everything is everything. And
Right?
I was like, okay, I can get with that.
That is theologically profound.
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't even know where to file that, but I'm gonna work that into something. But when I got there, I stopped trying to make things be something else. I got tired of problematizing life, because at some point, you're right, shit just happens, and as much as that happens, shift happens.
Yes.
And so when we're open to that, that means that we're also open to what the shifting brings to us. We have the experience now of judging everything and making everything right or wrong. And we come with the added on caboose to that train of it just is what it is. I am that I am. I mean, it's the language of time
Hmm.
that comes to us. And yeah, I was the same way. I mean, I give things the side eye in a heartbeat. And and
Right.
and when my doctor looked at me and said, I have a pill for that, I was like, say more
Say
about
exactly.
say more about that. But years ago, I probably would have said, oh no, I'm going to do what Myrtle Fillmore did and lock myself in a room and declare that I am a child of God and I do not inherit illness, sickness, or disease. And I did that for a bit. And I realized that there is power in the disease, but there's power in the healing and the overcoming. And being
Right.
a public theologian, that just becomes part of the story that I tell. I'm wholly human. You kick me
Hmm.
hard enough. I mean, after I kick you back, I'm gonna say ow. But
Right.
yeah, I'm just wholly human.
Yeah. And I've thought a lot about those great pioneers, and they pioneered at a time where medicine involved leeches and bloodletting. I mean, you know what I mean, like,
Mhm.
yeah, if their medicine was the medicine available to us, oh yeah, I would be denying and affirming and visualizing it, yeah, because it was probably more effective and certainly less deadly.
Mhm.
We have somehow, through whatever process of thought and practice and exploration, we have manifested really great medicine. And
Yes.
so I don't want to, I also don't want to insult like the miracles that are available to us
Mhm.
that we've already manifested. We've already manifested, I've already manifested a really great pharmacist. I don't
Mhm.
now need to manifest something to compete with my great pharmacist.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, these things can peacefully coexist.
Yes, yes. Well,
Yeah.
half of our
When
new thought friends are cheering and turning cartwheels. They're loving that we're having this conversation. The other half
uh,
are saying, I knew they didn't get it. I knew they didn't get
uh,
it.
yeah, I think one of the things that I experienced in my own set of understanding new thought when I decided I was going to pick up the Course in Miracles for leisurely reading, which
It's
one
a
should
gateway drug.
it is
ACIM, it's a
it is
gateway drug.
it is. And I heard Iyanla Vanzant on a lecture tour in Denver, and one of the things that she said, and it stuck with me, is that the question and the answer are in the same room.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
so I'm like, okay, so and more often than not, if as I observe myself and have a level of self-awareness, I already know the answer. I just ask questions to delay having to do the thing that I know I need to do.
Right.
And so that's just my stall tactic. But the question and the answer, they live in the same body and they operate in the same room.
Yeah. I once had a minister friend who said, because I was struggling with the decision, I'm praying about it, and I'm like, I'm not getting a clear answer.
Mhm.
And she was so wise. She said, well, you prayed about it. So you will intuitively know what to do is right. And
Yes,
if
ma'am.
you get that wrong, God will make it right. So
Exactly. Yeah, I heard the learn the thing with prayer was that is understanding how to bless it and release it.
yes.
As opposed to God, I said turquoise, not navy. Um,
Right.
so yeah, and to bless it and release it, because you know how we make up our mind and we decide what the outcome should be, and anything that is unlike what we think it should be is wrong.
Right.
I've just learned to accept it all as my good. The turquoise and
Right.
the navy get to peacefully coexist in my closet.
I like it. I like it. Well, we've talked about, in fact, you brought Myrtle Fillmore up, and we've talked about MCC, which was founded by, he's one of my heroes to this day, Troy D. Perry. And
Hmm.
yesterday was the 52nd anniversary of the founding of MCC. Uh,
Yes.
now, I just remember when MCC was so exciting to me. It was new to me. I'm sure that's the way people who find it maybe today.
Hmm.
Although it can't be the exact same because if you weren't around when AIDS hit, if you weren't around when there were sodomy laws on the books, if you weren't
Yep.
around when marriage equality was some bizarre fantasy that only the craziest people even talked about at parties,
Yep.
you just can't know what it was like to walk into something where 70-80% of the room was gay, where the preacher was gay or lesbian or trans, where, you know, every third or fourth sermon was focused on gay issues, you know, where the language was gender inclusive. And, you know, you just can't imagine what that was like, unless you're old.
You know, that's so funny. Or when you think that don't ask, don't tell was what you said before you did the pinky swear.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah,
So
when you've had to live through that,
right.
yeah,
And we,
it adds something to the mix.
yeah, yeah. And we had the so there was activism, and there was spirituality, and there was coming out, there was finding community, and, you know, all of that. So it was so great. And now I don't know what that's like because I'm not new. So I don't know what the new experience of MCC is because I'm not new. And I've been in the same one now for 14 years. I don't get out much. So
You don't get out much, okay.
I know the one that I'm at is, but the one I'm at is also part of the ICCC and the Divine Science, you know, so we're atypical to begin with. So, but so 52 years of just life-changing, you know, MCC. That was yesterday. Also yesterday was the anniversary of Myrtle Fillmore making her transition. She was, of course, the co-founder of the Unity School of Christianity, the Silent Unity, began as Silent Unity, in fact, and Unity Village, one of my favorite places on the planet.
Yes.
And so 52 years since Troy founded MCC. And then also that same day, October 6th, the transition date, the anniversary of her departing this experience of life to whatever is next. How have Myrtle and Troy influenced your life and ministry?
You know, they are more alike than they are different. In this body, for me, they both share with me the language of perseverance and the moving toward the. So I'm old too. I remember Dragnet and Joe Friday. You know, just the facts, ma'am. They both have helped me understand. Look for the facts. Don't be distracted by the appearance of things, and that story of perseverance. Being able to be in the room with Troy Perry was like life changing for me. I mean, I thought he'd be taller, but because I listened to people describe him, so I was like expecting 7'2" Troy, and I thought he'd be louder, but he's such a gentle soul.
Yeah.
And being able to be in the room with him in this life and know the story that he has moved through in his life, and there's a thread of perseverance in there, that it's not just coming to win a race, it's coming to stay in that race, because the one who began the good work in us is faithful through to the completion. And Myrtle and Troy both carried that lesson in the facts that we've come to know about them. Myrtle didn't accept illness. And after being in the room with Dr. E.B. Weeks, she walked away from that understanding her own divinity. And I know that Troy, you know, when we get past the 45 of the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir, which I just can't even imagine, in your living room, and a whole bunch of people gathered around this thing, and just how great thou art, there is a thread of perseverance in every element of that. And there have been times where I'm just like, you know, this ministry thing is hard. It's hard being a same gender loving African American, overly educated, got something to say about everything woman in these days and times. And when I think back and I look at their journeys, there was nothing about them that said, go somewhere, sit down and be quiet. I mean, what is the thing that Jim Matosky used to say, the little chant, act up, act out. And I'd be like, say what? My mom told me to be quiet. I don't know if it's act up, act out thing, but it really is a message that is timeless in any regard. So for me, they have taught me, don't give up, don't get distracted by what you see, because there's more to it than that. You keep going. I kept going. When I first met Reverend Nancy, she was the newly elected moderator. I had a chance to sit down across the table from her, and I said, I think I want to be a minister. She said, I have one question. And I thought, oh Lord, which of the 66 books of the Bible is this going to come out of? And I had not yet met my friend the Apocrypha yet. And she said to me, she said, how comfortable are you with ambiguity? It's like,
that's my favorite drag queen.
I'm trying to tell you. Yeah, I'm going to be that for Halloween. And I realized I'm very comfortable with it because I know where all the lines and the edges are. And so that space of ambiguity is the space of possibility. And the element of creation is present there. And we get to co-create the world we need, as opposed to just trying to recreate the one we know or we used to know. So, it's been an interesting journey traveling with those luminaries in my heart and mind.
Yeah. The first time I met Troy Perry, the first time he met me was the second time I met him. But the first time I encountered him, right, was he was preaching at a renewal, a spiritual renewal at MCC somewhere. It was in driving distance from where I was. And so I went, and I'd heard about him, so I just couldn't wait to see this guy. And out he walks, this big old leather bear of a guy, full in regalia, church drag vestments, and to me he did seem 7'2", and he had this beard, and he was very handsome. And so I'm sitting there having very carnal thoughts as he enters the building. But he immediately, and he was loud. See, to me, he was big and he was loud. He just he started out by screaming, and you'll recognize the line when you hear it. Just screaming, if you love the Lord tonight, say amen. And then he was so in preacher mode or whatever. Then I felt totally guilty for having a moment of lust. And then I just fell in love with the theologian and whatever. And he was amazing. And then there was a fundraiser for the church afterwards at a bar, and I saw him tip a stripper. And then I'm like, okay, for sure I'm home.
Absolutely.
So no, but yeah, it is amazing to have met the founder of something, the founder of a movement, a prophet raised up for a particular time, and that I've had cocktails with him, I've had dinner with him, I've heard him preach so many times, and that's so amazing. I hate that I never got to meet. Of course, I'm old, but I wasn't old enough to have met Paramahansa Yogananda. But I did know Roy Eugene Davis, his disciple, and he initiated me into Kriya Yoga. So yeah, the founder or the disciple, and of course I'm 100 generations removed from the Fillmores, but I got you, so that's important.
Yeah, I got
that's
you,
Fillmore
babe.
connection.
There you go.
But these personal contacts with the tradition, with the history, they are amazing. They are amazing.
Absolutely, and they are alive in all of us.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing nowadays. When we can't all be in the same room, hold hands, and hug and do all those things that we understand as physical connection, we still belong to each other. We were built for that. And all the stories, the traditions, the language of that, it lives in us. And we just have to find creative ways to get together and go, remember that time? and just be who we are. That's really what community is.
Yeah. Not thinking of the luminaries. I never got to meet. I got to hear a preach one time, but I never got to meet Johnny Coleman. But I knew Mary Tompkins very well, and I know Sheila Keith and super well. And so yeah, now I just want to think about all the great people I know, or have learned from, or want to know. Yeah, it's great to when the people who've been up the mountain, when they come back, and you see the glow on them, that glow is contagious.
Yes, it is. It's not just sweat.
Yeah. Well, okay, we've gone a little deep, and we've gone a little sideways, and we've gone a little off the rails.
What we do.
Because that's how it's supposed to be. but if we wanted a moment of focus, and we'll lose that quickly. But if we wanted to have a moment of focus, what is one word of encouragement that you have right now for spiritual seekers?
One word for spiritual seekers of encouragement.
And it's a church word, which can be a paragraph. But I'm saying, what do you have to say?
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. I think for me, stay curious.
Mm,
Stay curious. Don't be satisfied with the concrete answer. Break that thing down into small rocks and little pebbles that you can carry around with it. Fit in your pocket. Don't break the shape of your clothes. But stay curious. Ask questions. Because the meaning, if you ask me the meaning of something, that's my meaning based on my experience and my context of life. Find your own. I remember I got a chance to be in a room with Brian McLaren a couple of years ago. And one of the things that came to me in the moment, have you ever been in a room with some of these luminaries and you just start writing down stuff they say?
mm-hmm.
I was in the room with him and he was talking about this great migration. All of a sudden I felt a shift within me. Don't write down what he says, write down what you think about what he says, because your words mean something. And so when you're in the room and you're learning, don't just take copious notes of what you hear. Take copious notes of who you are becoming that you hear within you, because let it be your words, your experience. That's the thing that matters. There's my church paragraph.
No, that's a good one. That's for somebody. I think it's me. Uh, I'm writing down what I think about it right now. So okay, this has been so much fun.
Yeah.
The questions are always for the guest. It's about the guest, except for the last one. The last
Okay.
one is the question everyone gets. It's the one. It's the one generic thing, but the answers are all over the place, which is why we asked this question. What happens when we die?
What happens when we die? Wow. I think, I mean, I know that this physicality has a shelf life, but there is a thread of us that is eternal. Um, I think that when the body gives up, it's gone as far as it can go, the soul continues on and continues out on its next great adventure. Because our soul, Carolyn Mace talks about that contract. Our soul
Mhm.
contracts for this life. And when that's done, it's almost like you got next. Okay, what I got? I can pick what's behind door number 3, door number 2. I think that the soul is eternal. It moves on to its next great experience, and it takes an essence of this with it. Because there's some things I know that I probably can't possibly know because I wasn't there, but I
Mm.
know. And so I think when we die, that there is a transition of the soul from one moment to the next, and that carries that breath of life with it.
I like it. I like
You
it.
heard it here.
Yeah, I heard it here. That's wonderful. And I was wondering, is this going to be a Unity answer or a CSL answer? And it was both.
Yeah, I'm good at that, man. I got to mix
Yeah,
it up.
yeah. Well, I know that Unity, a lot of Unity people, certainly the Fillmores believe in reincarnation. Ernest Holmes says, what's next is you take off this clothes and you move on. You get a new
Yeah,
suit,
costume
and
change.
you got it. You got it all in there. The
Yeah.
same. That's wonderful. Um, I have missed you so much.
Yes,
We don't
indeed.
we don't conference together.
I know.
One, there's more conferences than ever. You can't go to all of them, and two, now we can't go to any of
Right. So we're left sitting here chatting.
them. So, but Zoom is omnipresent. So there's not a spot where Zoom is not. So here we are.
Living the Zoom life. I love it.
So this has been a joy for me,
Thank you.
and I know a lot of people are going to be so happy that they caught this. If not live, then soon. It's on forever.
Exactly.
Uh, but one more time, in case are any of your talks or anything you write is that on your website?
It is all over the place.
It's okay. So if you want to know more about Reverend Kathy, or if you want to hear more from Reverend Kathy, That is orlandocsl.org.
Org. Yeah, you can find me
orlandocsl.org.
yeah, you can find me on Facebook, the Gram. Every now and then I tweet, but the 140 characters get on my nerves.
Right. It's yeah, no, thank God for Facebook. That's how I know, but that's how I keep up with you. So thank God for that. Well,
Yes,
and thank
indeed.
God for you. I'm so excited about all that you're doing and all that you've done. And so we bless you and your ministry.
Thank
And
you.
I just can't wait to what's next for you. Thanks for sharing
Yeah,
all of you with us today.
thank you. I love you and I miss you.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.